Welcome to this special Halloween edition of Arena Showcase. Today we're going to take a look at some of wrestling's weekly events that were themed around this spooky time of year, whether it simply be special graphics packages or the addition of props and other things Halloween related. We've already covered WCW Halloween Havoc, so if you haven't seen that video yet, go ahead and check it out. Anyway, enough of the introduction, let's get started. We'll start with WCW Nitro because, unfortunately, we don't really see much in the way of Halloween theming here. This is probably due to the fact that the promotion had an entire pay-per-view event based on this time of year, but in 1995, on the October 30th edition of Monday Nitro, we would see this really cool jack-o'-lantern version of the show logo before going to and from breaks. Over at the commentary table, we would see Mongo in possession of a Halloween goodie bag, as well as his dog Pepe dressed up in a witch's hat. That's really about it though. Oh, and this is completely unrelated, but I just had to point out how shiny and brand new those diamond plate letters looked in the first few months of the show. No other episodes of Nitro, or Thunder for that matter, would take advantage of Halloween, so we'll move on to WWE. Let's start with Monday Night Raw. On Hallows Eve 1994, WWF Raw would feature some graphical updates to celebrate the night. We see the inclusion of jack-o'-lanterns in the matchup and segment previews, as well as the lower third for ring introductions. On the October 30th, 1995 edition of WWF Monday Night Raw, we would see a similar jack-o'-lantern to the one that Nitro used on this very same night, this one of course featuring the Raw logo. We also see our commentary team and interviewers dressed up in their costumes, as well as a custom WWF watermark logo to the bottom left of the screen. The Attitude Era must have just been too cool for Halloween because it would be 10 long years before we see the theming return. On October 31st, 2005, we would see the show open with a custom spooky-looking Raw logo. This would carry over to the match previews, introductions, and other miscellaneous graphics. They would even add these bats flying towards the screen during transitions. In 2007, we wouldn't see any theming of any sort, but we did get a Divas costume match, so I guess that counts for something. On Halloween of 2011, we would see a graphics package that features pumpkins, moons, bats once again flying towards the screen during logo transitions, as well as custom Halloween-themed matchup previews and lower thirds for wrestler entrances. 2016 would take Halloween to the next level, as on the October 31st episode of Raw, we would see the theming transition into physical props, something we hadn't yet seen on Raw. The Trick or Treat Street Fight would feature not only this cool match preview, but also a bunch of Halloween decorations placed around the entire ring area. Graphics would receive some nice effects from transitions to headers and lower thirds. Another first that we would see here is the theming being carried over to the default arena displays, including this cool jack-o'-lantern on the floor of the stage. The 2017 Halloween edition of Raw would take place on October 30th and would recycle the graphics package that was seen from the previous year. The only real change here would be the default displays at the stage area, which feature a more subtle theming than 2016. Moving to ECW, well, WWECW to be precise. On Halloween of 2006, we see some pretty cool theming here, complete with a grotesque jack-o'-lantern wrapped in barbed wire, which carries over to the other graphics, including introductions for both wrestlers and commentary. Match previews appear on headstones with dead trees and a full moon in the backdrop. On October 30th, 2007, ECW would take Halloween to the next level. I mean, this is done to an extent only previously seen at WCW's Halloween Havoc. We would see an opening video with match previews complete with theming, as well as the show logo featuring bats scattering away from it, which is hard to make out here. The real dedication, however, would come from the stage area, which is heavily decorated with skeletons, ghosts, spiderwebs, mummies, pumpkins. I mean, just look at this. This really is top-notch stuff if you're into Halloween. We see carved pumpkins with the WWE logo in them, dead rats in traps at the ring bell, ghouls hanging by the Titantron, and the thick layer of fog really finishes off the look. It's safe to say they went all out. Let's head over to Smackdown to have a look at what they've done throughout the years. In 2002, the weekly event would fall on Halloween, where we would see wrestlers in their costumes and also enjoying themselves quite a bit. The end of the show opening would display this CGI pumpkin, which really makes its rounds here for the event, as we would see it used for the default display on the Trons, as well as in all other graphical outings here. Hey look, that's me! Just kidding, I wasn't there. In 2004, Smackdown would come to us on October 28th with some slight theming in the form of a Halloween costume contest, but that's really all we would get here. Fast forward 4 years to 2008 and Smackdown would take place on Halloween. We see a cool rendition of the event logo with spiderwebs, headstones, dead trees, and of course, what Halloween setting is complete without a full moon? We would see matchup graphics that closely resemble the ones used for ECW for their 2006 Halloween special. And this theming carries over to the lower third for wrestlers and for the commentary team, which I should mention are both dressed for the occasion. On October 30th, 2009, we would see another Halloween special for SmackDown, complete with an all-new graphics package for on-screen introductions, as well as match previews. And during certain segments of the show, we would see a uniquely themed default display on the Minitrons and LED walls over at the stage. October 29th, 2010 would also give us some unique graphics in the form of custom lower thirds for wrestlers and for commentary, but that's it here. Jumping forward to 2014, and SmackDown would once again fall on Halloween, and just like we saw for Raw in the more recent years, this is quite the celebration. We see heavily themed lower thirds return for introductions, in addition to new match previews and even logo transition featuring bats flying towards the screen. We see the ring decorated with props for not only an interview segment, but also for the trick or treat street fight where skeletons, pumpkins, and other items are located around the ring area. And I gotta give this one an A+ simply based on the fact that we see a back body drop onto a bunch of pumpkins. And to top things off, we see a pretty cool Halloween-themed default display over at the stage area. 2015, October 29th, SmackDown would return with more spooky theming, including an all-new graphics package, with lower thirds, matchup screens, and transitions. We also see pumpkins lining the stage area, along with some skulls. The stage also once again features a unique display similar to last year's. And at the ring, we see custom apron displays on the LED panels, which is a first here. Hallows Eve 2017, SmackDown would celebrate the night once again with a custom SmackDown logo and web-covered transitions. And there's those bats again. They really like those bats, don't they? We also see additional graphics such as lower thirds for introductions and match previews. We would also see a unique default display for the stage area screens, albeit a little lackluster. Well, that's it, guys. I would have liked to see more physical props the way we did on ECW in 2007, but still, we got a lot of content here throughout the years. I want to thank you all for joining me on this special edition of Arena Showcase, and I hope to see you back here for the next one.